Good morning, church. Bob Myers here. Blessed to spend some time with you this morning looking at 2 Samuel 14. And this is the 1st and 2nd Samuel are the establishment of the nation of Israel and the coming of the kingdom of David and how God is dealing with his people through everyday life. And boy, don't we need that in the day and age in which we're living now. And chapter 14 kind of reads like the script to a soap opera. It's not a lot of good stuff, but it's God's word. So we have Absalom, who's yesterday in lesson killed his brother because of what he'd done to his sister. And so there's a death sentence on Absalom's life now because he has willfully taken another man's life. And Joab knows that David's heart is toward Absalom. And so Joab cooks up a scheme. And he saw how well it worked with Nathan to come to David and say, hey, there was this deal. And David executed judgment or decided what the judgment should be. And Nathan said, by the way, we're talking about you. And so David applied the same judgment to himself. So Joab's going to do the same thing. He found a woman and she came to David with an account. May have been true, may have been made up, but it was an account, and told the story to the king. And the king made a judgment. He said, this is not right. I will take care of it. We're going to do right by it. And then the woman said, can I say one more thing? I want to talk to you about Absalom, your son, and how you're treating him. Because you just made one judgment about two people you knew nothing about, but you're executing a different judgment toward your son because of the death sentence. And David said, you're right. You're right. And he repented of the judgment against Absalom. And he removed the death sentence. And he told Absalom he could come back to Jerusalem. But notice carefully what happens. And the king said in verse 24, let him turn to his own house, let him not see my face. So Absalom returned to his own house and saw not the king's face. So David removed the death sentence from Absalom's life, but it did not restore fellowship. You and I, when we come to the cross, have the death sentence removed from our life. Christ offers us redemption from the penalty of sin. But that doesn't automatically restore fellowship. We need to lean in and spend time with God in God's word and spend time with him for that sweet fellowship. And Absalom actually lives in Jerusalem for 2 years and never sees David in all those 2 years. And he wants to see David. And so he sends to Joab and said, hey, you got me this far, get me the rest of the way. And Joab just blew him off and didn't pay attention to him. So Absalom burnt down his field, and Joab came over and said, hey, what's going on? And Absalom said, I want to see the king. And so at the end, we see that Absalom comes in and meets before the king. Now we'll see tomorrow that really fellowship was still not restored, even though he got to meet the king. But David started the process of restoring fellowship, but he didn't complete it. He kept Absalom at arm's length, wouldn't let him see him for 2 years. A tragic chapter, but an interesting chapter, and how God deals with his people in the life of the nation of Israel. Be blessed today in 2 Samuel 14.